that I am saying that line instead of the gentleman who's right in front of me right now. So thanks so much for doing this, buddy. I mean, not often does the interviewer get to become the interviewer.
Macha, this feels like I'm coming back home, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I absolutely get where you're coming from. And I hope a lot of people come and take a look at what we're doing here. Let's see what is going on soon. Of course, if you want to chat, you can start putting out stuff on YouTube, wherever the heck you are. You can watch this anywhere. In fact, I am live on LinkedIn right now. I am live on LinkedIn on my profile. So if you go to linkedin.com/Vikram Parthan, you'll find me there. You'll find the video there going live. You'll find this on Facebook. On my profile, you'll find this on Gigsy's Facebook page. You will also find this on YouTube live, on Gigsy's YouTube live. So 4 different places where this is going out right now. And I am extremely happy and extremely honored to be hosting Arvindh Sundar and Arvindh Sundararajan from
But if you're going to go there, we should probably go with the whole day,
I know, we should. I mean,
Sheshagopalan, Sri Arvindha Sundarajan Rajagopalan.
There you go. That's his full name.
There we go.
Yeah. That's the full name for everyone who's watching. Arvindh, thank you so much for taking time out. I know you're a very, very busy man. Thank you for doing
Anytime for you and for Gigsy also, Macha.
Thank you so much. And it's an honor really to host you on this episode today. And quickly, let us get a very nice introduction from you about what you are, who are you, what are you doing today, and what has your journey been like? Let's give a quick introduction to everyone.
All right, cool. Yeah. So the name's Arvindh, and I run this company called Put the Player First, where I design behavioral games which are personalized for each individual or company that I work with to help them achieve specific goals. But adding a little bit more context to our conversation today, I'm coming back to Gigsy because I was with you guys for quite some time in the early days. And Gigsy actually helped me launch make my first $1,000 and more as a creator, right? And that's always a special spot in my heart. So this is not a plug. I'm not getting paid by Vikram or something. I believe in this. I helped build a part of it. And I'm also a proud creator and someone who's using the Gigsy platform even today to make money. In fact, the way I see it, Gigsy is a central part of my eventual goal of becoming a location-independent business owner / content creator, someone who's just making money doing what I love, right? So that's pretty much the end goal.
Awesome. More chops to you, more power to you to reach that end goal, and may you reach it as soon as possible so that everything in your life is hunky-dory and awesome going forward. So very, very cool. Let's get started with this interview, shall we? I mean, we have a lot of things to ask Arvindh about how his journey started, what is he doing with Put the Player First, what sort of content was he putting out as part of Put the Player First to start with? How did that evolve to where it is right now? And what is it right now? And that's going to be very, very interesting, believe me, because this whole experience about gamifying your life and actually taking it to the next level is something very, very cool. And you should listen to that from the horse's mouth directly, right? So,
wait, that's a donkey. That's not a horse.
Yeah, for a second I was wondering what was the guy doing right there.
I got that.
Yeah.
Right on.
So, Arvindh, let's start. I know for a fact that you launched your first course on Gigsy through Put the Player First.
Macha, there's a whole lot more. If you don't mind, I would like to give you a tour.
Please go ahead. Yeah, this is you, man. This is you at its unadulterated best. So.
Like all good stories, this one begins in 2011. In 2011, I was working in an advertising agency called Ogilvy and Mather. I was part of the content and tech team. In fact, I was the content and tech lead for Ogilvy PR. And what I ended up doing is I would have these long commutes to work, right? And every morning, I would pick up my wife. I would not pick up, my wife and I would set up together. And in the car or in the motorcycle back then, we would listen to podcasts, right? There was this guy called Pat Flynn, who runs smartpassiveincome.com. Wonderful guy, very, very sweet. And, that's when this vision of having a like a passive income slash a like a location independent sort of a lifestyle, right? That's when the seeds were planted. And big hi to Gotham as well, Macha. Really happy that you're here. And what happened at that time was that I'm like, okay, that's when the spark was there. Like this is like a good decade ago, like a good 10 years ago. Now at that time, I had a vision, right? And I'm not going to say the same vision as what I have now, but I had like this thing that I was working towards. But at that time, I had like zero skills, right? I didn't know what to go ahead and do, what to how to actually approach any of this. And you see, Kudmir, a good friend of mine, who I actually met at the toilets in Ogilvy. Believe it or not, seriously, I mean, we both like it was like love at first sight, but like between brothers, like we both had just finished taking a piss. We left that one urinal in between. Then when we were washing, I was like, "New here?" He's like, "Yeah, you too." Yeah, that's how our beautiful friendship blossomed a good 10 years, man. But anyway, I had this vision that I wanted to have this sort of a lifestyle, but I didn't have any certain skills that I could actually monetize or do anything, right? And as a creator, I started that, right? So I ran like a whole bunch of different blogs. I still remember there was this website called callmegundu.com. Gundu was my nickname back in Ogilvy. This was when I was like 25 or something. And then I had 2-minute reads. I had kudumi.com. I had, I think a good like maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 different blogs. I must have written like upwards of 300, maybe upwards of like 3,000 blog posts, maybe 4,000 blog posts.
You've naturally been a content creator, like from the get-go, right?
Actually, no. That's actually a very dirty story, but I'm very, very happy to share it with you. So I went to Manchester Business School for my master's degree, right? I was studying corporate communications and reputation management. Now, until I had actually gone there, I had lived a very closeted life, right? Very protective parents and very safe and secure thing. But when I went there, I'm like, oh, there is so much to do, so many things to explore. And I'm like, you know what? I was like this, in Tamil, they say, like a donkey that's been let loose. And consequently, I ended up partaking in several bad habits. In case my mom and dad see this, I'm sorry, but I did develop a certain predilection for gambling. Blackjack and casinos are a real thing there. And whatever money I had to make me, like, to last me till the end of the academic year, I blew it all off. Like I was down to like maybe like 40 pounds. Right. And I had to like survive like for like 7 months in Manchester. And that's not happening. Right. So yeah. I decided like, okay, I have to make money. And what can I do? Well, this is going to be stereotyping, but this is an actual observation that I had. It was a real life thing where I saw that, in many of the classes that I was a part of, as well as in other like places I had friends with, like all the kids from China, all the other students from China, they were phenomenal at research. But when it came to compiling all of that into a cohesive sentence or a report or a paper, that was a skill that was lacking. So I identified that opportunity where I said, like, you do the research, you give me the notes, I will write your paper. Okay. If I understand this correctly, that's probably frowned upon in universities, especially abroad. But I'm like, you know what? I need the money. So I went ahead, and there have been numerous times when I have written like 100 pounds if you want an overnight paper, right? If it's 50 pounds, then you get it in a week, right? And in fact, when I finished my master's right after that as well, I must have made like upwards of what, like 4,000, 7,000 pounds.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
And they were rich. I was willing to provide the services, and that kind of got me through my master's degree, right? It's not ethical. Yeah, I don't think it was legal either. But hey, you see an opportunity, you have a certain set of skills. Why not milk it, right? So that's what I like. Oh wait, and I like writing. It's about coming up with stories, and I'm like, you know what? Let's do that. So that's where my journey began of like, being writing and stuff like that. And of course, my profession as well as a marketer, where I worked in an advertising agency, where I worked in a storytelling agency with Kudmir Syed as well. Kudmir and I, we were co-founders of Grok Communications, which was India's first storytelling agency, right? So all these skills, they kind of like cascaded. And in the past 10 years or so, right, from back then till now, it's been developing. And with each iteration, and this is critical, and I believe this is critical for every creator, right? With each iteration, there is a continuous death and rebirth that happens. Pablo Picasso said, right? Every act of creation is as an act of destruction itself. And as a result, what happens is there is a death and rebirth that happens, a death of an old version of you, and a new version of you is like reborn at that time, right? That sort of cycle, it continues. And that led me to honing my skills, not just in writing, but in storytelling, in terms of audio, in terms of video, in terms of plugging this all together, like in our Dungeons and Dragons games, right? There's a whole another layer of entertainment and of content that actually comes in over there. Along this journey, I was also fortunate to pick up a very, very strong interest in productivity, in terms of personal development, in terms of leveling up myself personally, and like people like Kudmir, right? Like going in like, Macha, you have to do this, you have to try this, you have to do this, stuff like that. And I'll be honest, I was not successful, right, in the past, because it's like you like Vikram, you like ice cream, right? You love chocolate ice cream. You love Black Forest, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I'm absolutely a vanilla.
Death by chocolate? Vanilla. My bad.
Vanilla and a chocolate.
Vanilla. But this is fantastic, right? You love vanilla and chocolate, right? But if I come and tell you like, Macha, you have to have this Tutti Frutti ice cream, I'm not going to be able to get you to have this ice cream, right? No matter, even if it's like the best freaking ice cream, that's like Tutti Frutti flavor. My personal favorite, by the way. If I'm saying that you must have that, you're not going to have that. You see, this knowledge, even though I was working in marketing as a creator, right? When I was doing something which was a work of passion, right? Something that I'm putting in a lot of my effort, my soul into creating this. But I was still thinking as a creator when it came to my own stuff. For my clients back then, I mean, like, okay, this is what you got to do to get the kind of money that you want, right? That's what I was focused on. But when I'm doing this as a creator for myself, I'm like, I don't care about what other people think. This is art. This is expression, which is good, but it's not necessarily good for business, right? Because for me, this is my personal opinion after suffering through as a creator for quite some time, that I could make stuff that I want and then I could try to sell, or I could find what people want and I could make that for them. And, I can very easily find happiness in creating stuff that people are actually consuming. That's number one. And the money that actually comes into my account when people buy that stuff. That epiphany didn't happen until maybe like about, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And that's when, like when I left the comfort of my the monthly salary. Monthly salary. I am so sorry, Tony. Not Tutti Frutti. Yes, unfortunately, that is the case. But when I left my safe job as
talk about all of the accents and the voices also sometime.
We will. Yeah. We will. And I left my job as a chief marketing officer at Gigsy Academy. That was like, I'd done my job there. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm sorry. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to swear, but this just happened. This is me. But what did happen was I left that and I struck out on my own. And that's when it was very, very scary, very, very difficult. And before I met you guys at WeWork, right, at that time too, I had created like the Way of the Octopus. It's a kind of a game that like a bunch of activities that I had designed to help people kind of get better at life. That's the thing that I want to do, right? Two things. I want to help you get better, and I want to make it easier for those who are coming after me to succeed, right? If I'm the first guy who's like tearing through this and making it easier, then I can share the systems that I have used to attain this level of satisfaction, goals, mastery, whatever you want to call it, right? If I am living the life that you would want, metaphorically speaking, then I want to make it easier for you to have what I have. So that's the thinking that I had. That time before I met you guys at WeWork, I was using WordPress and I was using WooCommerce and I was using InstaMojo, and the number of conversations I had, man, oh my god, and the number of hours that I had seen. I had put in trying to make, to cobble, like you said, right, to cobble these things together and to actually make
Frankenstein's monster, more or less. Yes.
Frankenstein's monster, and it was it was heartbreaking that, because I'm putting so much of time to like build this thing, and there'll be some error and I don't know how to fix it. I'm like, dude, this is not for me, right? This is absolutely not for me. And as serendipity would have it, our mutual friend Ashish, he introduced us, and one thing led to another, and that's when I actually discovered, like, hey, this is what Gigsy can do. Now, I'll be honest, I still was not like a proper like, I can leverage my creative audience sort of a thing with Gigsy. I wasn't that good, right? I was still figuring stuff out. I still am figuring stuff out, but along that time, I'm very very happy to say that like, I will take the positivity and say happy day. It was indeed a happy day when I discovered that hey, I could just roll with the dice, right, and play with whatever had popped up, and just make things happen, or I could try to fight it. But I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. That's where Gigsy was. You guys have already done the work of, okay, you want to make money doing what you love? Well, here it is. And then money came in.
It's fantastic that you've actually spoken about this entire journey in so much of detail. I think there are lots of lessons here, right? For people who want to become creators. I think one of the things is to understand that you can't just create whatever the heck you want and expect it to sell, right? You need to be able to have a pulse on who can actually, or who'd actually want to buy the stuff that you're actually selling, right? And make it for them. And the gratification comes from those sales, more or less, right? And the second thing being, you learn, you fall, you learn, you fall. You spoke about death and rebirth. I think it's a very, very spiritual statement to make, almost, because when you look at it that way, it's like you're reinventing yourself all the time. You're never going to be that one thing, right? You're always looking at change, because as people say, change is the only constant, and it keeps happening, right? It keeps happening over a period of time. And in fact, I've seen that change from the time you launched your first course as part of Put the Player First. And guys, just to let you know, is it okay, Arvind, if I quickly tell these folks how much you earned from that course in the first?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so he earned easily around 25 to 30K in a matter of a few days, within a month. Okay, and it was brilliant to see that. But what is even more brilliant, right, is the way he has actually evolved from what the course was back then to what it is looking like right now. And my God, if you see what he's doing today, you're going to be absolutely mind blown. I mean, the kind of imagination, the kind of creativity that it takes to actually come and sort of take a course and sculpt it and get it to a level where it's looking so different and so cool, and you're able to relate to it, because no self-respecting human has not played a game. Okay, I think everyone has played a game, and everyone understands how games can be so addictive, so joyful, so peaceful, and very competitive also at the same time. So I think that entire journey, switching it from where it was in the beginning to completely making it a games oriented approach, I think that journey is very, very interesting and very curious for me. We spoke about it just before you were taking it live and everything else. So would love to know how that process really started. How did you think about evolving it from where it was to completely changing it on the face of it and differentiating it so much and finally getting it into this playing games format, this bad evil guy, this actor, this game player who's going through this journey and all of that? I think that would be great to know. Yeah.
So without going into too much of a flashback, right? Back in 2018, before my daughter turned 2, I had the good fortune of taking a holiday in Norway, where on a whim, I ended up buying something. I think it's probably somewhere over there. Oh, I think you can see it. This thing, right? That entire stack of books for a game called Dungeons and Dragons, right? It was in the city of Oslo, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy it, right? I had heard that, I had seen that, and it turned out that thing over there, those set of 3 books that I had, are perhaps like the best thing that have ever happened to me, right? It's an actual game where collaboratively I can tell stories with others. Vikram, you know that as well. But together, what we do, a bunch of friends, we get together, we roll some dice, and we end up telling stories and coming up with memorable moments that make all of us happy. I mean, easily in a blink of an eye, you can lose like 4, 5, 6 hours of yourself in that game. That happens. Now, going back again, to my origins at Grok or any of this, storytelling's always been an important part of what I wanted to do, right? And it's also a very, very core philosophy that I do tend to follow, right? The whole concept of death and rebirth, it's not my own, right? I understand it is written, prescribed, and proselytized in many, many texts, such as the Bhagavad Gita, for example, right? It talks about that. There is a lot of talk about that reincarnation, especially in Eastern ideologies. My first exposure to that, though, was not through the Dasavataram, like when my mom and dad, it didn't click then. When it did click was when I read a really, really fat book called A Hero with a Thousand Faces by Dr. Joseph Campbell. Dr. Joseph Campbell was a researcher in the US who had studied a number of different myths across time, across space, and across cultures, and identified that, hey, there are some common underlying themes that show how a person goes on an adventure, a person goes on a journey, and in that journey they are transformed. That is the core idea, right? And in this journey they die and then they are reborn. I'm not going into the details, but if anybody wants to check it out, it's called the monomyth. We use that at Grok. We use that as a part of our storytelling. I use that as a part of my branding workshops as well. But even my own journey, it mirrors that. When I first started off on Gigsy, right? Like I said, I was doing this as the way of the octopus, okay? And looking back, I'm laughing, like, oh my God, how could I have been so naive and so dumb? But at that time, I didn't know. At that time, I thought I was the man. I knew everything what I was doing. I'm like, why isn't this working, right? So as I did these experiments, and that's important, okay, doing these experiments, we're going to come back to that later. But as I was going ahead, I was doing these experiments, I learned that, hey, this stuff is working, this stuff is not, right? And with every new thing that I learned, like a minor version of me died and a minor version of me, like Arvindh 1.1 died and 1.2 was born, if you know what I mean, right? It's just for all the techie folks out there. And that kept on happening, right? That's an iteration that happens. And this iteration, right? So I've gone through iterations in many aspects, if you will, as a creator, but also as an entrepreneur, right? And as a storyteller. And that is second iteration, right? Which is like the change as an entrepreneur. That is something, that death and rebirth of that mindset where I am thinking of myself only as a creator and not as a business owner. That was the pivotal point. The reason being, before that, as a creator, I'm like, what is this? I'm creating like such fantastic work. Why aren't people giving me money? Well, the world doesn't give a shit about me. It doesn't give a shit about my work. There are like about a bazillion other things that are clamoring for other people's attention. So if I cannot create something, because that is the mechanism that, that is the arena in which we have decided to throw in the towel and fight, right? If I cannot compete according to the rules of the game that I am playing, then you cannot expect success according to the rules of the game. There is nothing wrong with you being a creator and like Vikram, you sing, right? And you play the guitar and all of that. If you want to do that for your own satisfaction, you do you, Maja. You do whatever you want. That's going to give you joy and happiness. But this is what I've discovered. If you as a creator want to make money doing that, that's good. But that's going to be difficult as well. Right? If you want to play the game on a lower difficulty setting, what you want to do is you want to find out what is the stuff that there is a demand for. What is that people care? In your case, there are perhaps like I don't know, like 3 billion people on the planet who can play the guitar, right? I'm just spitballing here. But when that happens, you realize that, how can I be different from those 3 billion people? You could be different in the way you provide entertainment. You could be different in the way that you have personality. You could be different in the way you approach these things. You could be different in the problem that you're solving. There are many, many different ways that you can look at that. And Gigsy's Passion to Profit Bootcamp, right? The thing that we created together, I think that covers all of that in detail as well. When you go through the process, you realize that, okay, this is how I'm different. That's the first learning I had, that, the entrepreneur evolution, if you will.
Dog fooding.
Yes, we eat our own dog food.
Yes. I
And
mean,
that,
if people don't know what that means, I think
go ahead.
just to let them know, you experiment with your own stuff, right? And you see if that works for you. In fact, I'm sure Arvind himself has played around with his own framework, the games framework that he
I'm
developed.
coming to that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So dog fooding is basically that. You are
Yeah.
the first one who consumes what you are making so that you know there is some traction there already, you know. So sorry about that. Just wanted to.
No problem. No problem. So that was the first evolution, right? Realizing that I had to create stuff that people actually wanted. That's one, right? That is if I wanted to make money. And the second thing was that the skills that I had to learn, right? It's not just as a creator, but as an entrepreneur as well. So I kept on doing that, and that's when like version 1.0 of me died, and version 2.0. That's when the way of the octopus died, and I launched something called Epic Career Labs. That was my first main product slash brand that I had created and I had sold, right? But there I
That was the
again,
first video course. Sorry, I kept
yes,
saying put the player first. It was
that's
put
all
the
right.
player first. It was Epic Career Labs. Yes, yes, yes. Sorry,
No,
sorry.
but I'm really happy you mentioned that, because there is a teachable moment, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because when I created that, right, once again, I was just version 2.0 of me, right? I'm probably a version 4.0 of myself, but I'm in my entrepreneurial journey, right? But in this situation, what happened was I'm like, okay, I'm not going to make the same mistakes, such as what I had done with the way of the octopus. So I decided to make some new mistakes. And what happened this time was I found out what people wanted, right? I found out what people wanted, right? People were unhappy with the appraisals that they're getting, unhappy with the money that we're making, unhappy with the fact that they are creating, uh, they are like, when it comes to salary negotiations and when it comes to making money as a working professional, they don't have any sort of any sort of say in that negotiation, right? When a big company, when it's a company that they're working for, dictates that, okay, this year you're going to be getting only 7% as your hike. What are they going to do? Right? They don't realize that they're not being paid for what they're worth. They're being paid for how difficult they are to replace. And if you are a dime a dozen, if there are like about 300 other people like you, then you're not worth much. Right. So I created a course to address that. That was called the 30 Epic Career Upgrades. That was the first course that I launched. And as you said, Vikram, I did launch that, and I did make, I think it's 35, maybe even 40 grand right now.
Yeah.
All right. And that was a good thing. That was a really, really good thing, right? But I found it to be an uphill battle, because I had something that people wanted, but I made two mistakes with that. One, I hadn't packaged it in a way that was easy for people to consume. 30 Epic Career Upgrades sounds awesome, right? But it also requires hard work from people, right? It requires them to put in the effort. It requires them to eat humble pie. It requires them to admit that they were wrong and they have to do something. Now, psychology-wise, that's not working. That's me understanding my audience. That was the first thing. The second thing was I didn't have an audience at all. Like, I had a product, but if I had to immediately now go ahead and rely on, running Facebook ads and LinkedIn ads to go ahead and find these people, or, being very, very active on social media after I created the course, that created a disconnect, because the world had already moved on from when I had created that product to the needs that they had. When 2020 April or something hit and we entered lockdown, the world was different, right? And some of the stuff, some of the approaches I had used to approach and sell these courses, they were no longer working. Right? There were suddenly like about 300,000 other people just from India who were saying, like, you know what, buy my course, I will teach you how to make money. And unfortunately, they ended up teaching how to make money. Oh, well, simple. You just go ahead and create a course on how to make money for other people. And that was a Ponzi scheme that I'm not, I do not endorse. Right. And I stayed away from that. And at that time, I tried to figure out, like, hey, what is it that I can do to set myself apart from all of these people? Right. And that's when I started doing corporate trainings as well. And that's when Put the Player First was born, because even at the core of Epic Career Labs, right, the idea was that you're going to be having an epic career, right? And in most epics, if you see like the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the Matrix, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, all of these things, they have a common structure. You have a hero who's living in a world that is broken, and one day they get a call to adventure, something that's going to drastically change their life. And the first thing that most of these heroes do, they say, no, I don't want that, right? They're scared. right? They're scared of the unknown. They want to maintain the status quo. And that happens all the time, everywhere. I have worked with CXOs. I'm coaching CXOs right now. I'm coaching entrepreneurs right now. And that fear is universal, right? And as a result, they need a mentor, someone who can say, hey, Macha, don't worry, you're going to be okay. And they're going to take them from this broken world into a brand new world. This is a fantastic place. It's a magical place where they will meet new friends, make new allies, meet new enemies, defeat new monsters, go on epic quests that will change their life. They're going to die a million deaths and be reborn a million and one times.
And if you're picturing that, just imagining that, and if you're a fantasy fan, so I'll tell you, I'm a big Lord of the Rings nut, right? I mean, anyone who knows me knows that I've even gone to New Zealand only for that. So, it's the picture it paints in your head is one of optimism, one of adventure, and one of a lot of cool different things that you can actually get to do as part of that adventure. So I think it resonates with people very, very obviously. And the thought of a quest, the mystery, the adventure, the romanticism around it, all of those things I think come together wonderfully well. So just a few tidbits from my side, and just in terms of visualization and understanding how this can actually paint such a vivid canvas.
Fair enough. So they go on these quests, right? And they die these rebirths. They die and they're reborn again a number of times. And finally, they will meet this big bad evil guy, big bad evil genius, whatever you want to call it, right? This big bad boss at the end. And finally, in an epic battle, they will destroy this boss and emerge victorious. Now, I want you to imagine something. You, that is Vikram, and everybody else who's watching this live or recorded. You know that feeling, right? Like when you go on holiday, you're away for some time and then you come back home. You know how things look slightly different, right? It's not exactly what you remember, but that new house, like that smell of your house, the way it feels, the way the bed feels, the way, the tables feel, all of that thing, all that is different, right? Because the way your last memory of your house was when you left on vacation. Now, in that vacation, you've changed, you've grown, time has passed. One way or the other, you are different than the one who had left. So when you return, you are experiencing the old thing in new ways. And that's what happens, Maja. That's what happens, right? When you have that experience, when you grow, you are able to come back to the same place and see things differently. Right? So that was a critical understanding. That was the core of what I was doing at Epic Career Labs, but the way I was selling it, the audience that I didn't have, that created a massive problem. So from there, I pivoted and I went into corporate training, right? Put the player first happened. I did branding work. I still do branding work. I did corporate trainings as well. And I applied this. And over time, I took the idea of going on these epic adventures. I took my knowledge and abilities in game design. I applied my knowledge of psychology. And together, I created something called, it's not something, I developed my proficiency in something called behavioral game design. And let's say that you wanted to, not you, but this is something that I've done, okay? If I wanted to lose weight, and I desperately do. If I want to have like really, really sexy hair, like what Vikram does, right? What are the things? I'm sorry. That kind of hair joke is an inside joke from a long time ago. But the idea is very simple, right? Whatever goal that we want to, achieve, what if we could reframe that as an adventure that we want to go on, right? So, and I took that as the premise. And this is, again, something that I've been working on since 2011 in different aspects. Only looking back, am I able to connect those dots? I didn't set out trying to do this, but then I realized, like, Maja, I'm a gamer. I love telling stories. I'm very, very focused on personal development. And I have a unique set of skills developed over a unique career and by a lot of experimentation and a lot of trial and error. Right? But now I can package this. Now I coach clients, some of whom are on this call today, like right now. And, I've helped them achieve specific goals. So now what I did was I looked at, okay, creating a course was difficult because things are changing, right? But what if instead of me being like a one-time purchase, right? Like Adobe Photoshop was like that, right? You could pay some X amount of money and it could be there. But then they started making a whole lot more money when they changed to subscriptions. I'm like, you know what I should do? I should switch to subscriptions, because then that way I'm starting to build a community. People will, I'm still going to be creating content because I love this stuff, right? I live this stuff and I love this stuff. What if I could combine? And I'm like, okay, you know what? coaching is a subscription model. So now I've set up multiple tiers on Gigsy itself, and I'm using that to like for some of my coaching clients, I have stuff at like 1,000 rupees. For some of my other coaching clients, I have a new tier coming out at like $5,000 for like a lot more hand holding. And what's happening is in these different tiers of value that I'm offering, right? Look, I have a free tier, right? Which is like my YouTube channel and my email list. Every day I'm giving them awesome content, right? Without fail. That's already happening. But then apart from that, if they want more personalized stuff, right? They can go to the Gigsy, the URL that they see on screen as well. Then that $1,000, I'm actually having like a weekly 45-minute call as a coaching thing.
In fact, if you have a weekly call with Arvindh at 1,000 rupees a month, at the end of the month, I'm sure you would have changed your perspective about a lot of things, right? So that's something that you should absolutely look at doing. And either way, when you, even if you don't want to meet with Arvindh on a weekly basis, you can still subscribe to his basic feed for 261 rupees, where you get access to his weekly webinars as well, Q&A webinars as well. But outside of that, he's even got his free stuff going. So, support Indian creators, because he's doing something fantastic, and stuff like this can't really go out for free.
But speaking of this, right? This was like version 3.0, right? So right now, like coming back to technical terms, it was going like this. So I have version 1, I had version 2, and then I had version 3, right? But when I started doing the subscription thing, I'm like, Macha, this is ridiculously easy, right? So I am like literally getting paid to do stuff that I'm already doing, right? Like I'm like how I say, like I'm like, Bacha, you should do this. I am this kind of a guy. I'm just like literally just monetizing my own psyche, if you will, right? I'm already doing this as a creator, but now people can support me. Now, the thing that I realized, right, at this version 3.0, when I'm doing this as put the player first, is that the kind of people that I was going after, right? So, and the kind of value that I was providing for them was that of education, right? And education is good, right? But if you want to make money, right? This is something that I learned from my advertising bosses, right? One, you figure out how to get them laid, you figure out how to get them paid, or you figure out how to get them to lose weight, right? So crassness aside, the idea is that entertainment trumps education, but education is also a very, very powerful way to go about doing this. And I decided, like, okay, how can I actually marry these two things? That led to like version 3.5, where I started creating actual physical as well as digital games, that behavioral games. Like, for example, the new one that's going to be coming out by end of August is all about personal branding, right? If you want to build your brand, I literally have a game that you can play with points and competition and leaderboards and stuff like that you can use to build your personal brand. It's like a freaking no-brainer. You get what you want. You still get entertainment, and I call it like the chocolate-covered broccoli. I love broccoli, but imagine if you like, for my baby girl, right? If I have to get her to eat something like medicine, right? We we give the medicine and then we give her some sugar so that she feels good about it. Same technique, but applied to our psychologies. That's 3.5. But like I said, D&D is like a very, very big part of my life, right? And I was like, wait, anyway, I'm drawing maps. I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff related to D&D. Why don't I monetize that, right? And that's kind of why I have the whole Indian DM bit as well going on, where I am, and this is like pure entertainment, right? I'm not teaching people stuff. I am doing stuff that I enjoy, and I want to get people to go ahead and support me because they like the work that I'm doing. I'm not promising anything else in return, but just the way we have Patreon and we have these kind of different rewards, I'm going to be setting up like a whole bunch of these different things on Gigsy itself for Indian people, right? And that's the beauty of it. For me, this hobby, as well as the fact that Indian people are only now opening up to like spend money using UPI or credit cards or whatever, right? Like, even look, I can't stress this enough, right? If I had to get one person to spend, let's say, 3 lakhs, okay, on a brand workshop for me, like at a company, okay, that back and forth is going to take me, what, 2 months, maybe 2.5 months before I can actually close that, okay? But for me to convince one individual, okay, to spend $50 a month on me, is that the bar is significantly lower, okay?
Absolutely.
And I'm not even talking like tier 2, tier 3 people. I'm talking like just Bangalore, macha, okay? Just Bangalore. That's the city I'm in, right? Just Bangalore or Chennai, whatever, like metros alone, right? people like you and me, much people like who are going to be watching this, right? We are living online. We are looking at stuff like this. We are the ones who will not think twice about spending $50. Okay. But convincing, let's say, 200 people to spend $50 versus one company to spend a lakh, right? There is the ROI on my time, because to get these people to spend that $50 monthly, I don't have to sell to them again and again, because I am still doing what I'm doing and I'm enjoying that process. Let's say I'm creating a video of making a map for a game, right? Or playing a game, right? And if I say like, hey, if you guys like this, go ahead and support me on Gigsy, right? If I go and drop that in and I add that link, let's say 3,000 people see this video, right? Out of that 3,000, maybe let's be brutal. Okay, let's say 1%. How much is that? 30 people, right? So 30 people come across, and of that, let's say 10%. Okay, are going to subscribe. I still get 3 people. Okay, at $50 a month, that's $150 a month. Okay, simple math. Now I don't have to make that video again for the rest of my freaking life until I delete that video. That video is still there, right? And it's still getting me that people. Right? It's not the same people who are going to be watching that video again and again, right? But as it's getting new people. So what's happening is that this is something that you taught me, Vikram, right? The power of compounding, which I later rediscovered, like how Gautam was asking, right, about reading in a book called The Richest Man in Babylon, right? Where it talks about the power of compound interest. And that's what happens, right? I create something, and it's just going to keep on. And if I set up this funnel where I'm creating content and I figure out step by step, how is that going to make me money, right?
We should talk about your webinar on Independence Day also, by the way. I mean, now that you've brought it up, that's
yeah. So what happens there is quite simple, right? So as a creator, I love making stuff. It could be art, music, whatever you want to call it, right? I love doing that. And then my end goal is to make money. Now, the beautiful part is connecting my vision, my want, to create the stuff and transforming that effort into money. It's going to take a couple of iterations, right? You will have to go from your version of 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. But you see that inner piping that you need to connect this to that, that's what Gigsy is, right? You put art on one side, you can get money on the other. But for you to set up this funnel, that's a bit of a challenge, right? Sure, the Passion to Profit Bootcamp, which is a free thing, if I'm not mistaken, at Gigsy, right? It is free, right?
Yeah, continues to be free, yes.
Continues to be free. Fantastic resource that can actually help you, work through that step by step. That is literally the same process I'm using to make my own stuff work, right? And if you have something that's like, you do what you love and you get paid for it, and there is something that's going to take over, all the piping, all the gnarly technical bits, all the stuff that you probably don't know or don't care enough to know about.
Plumbing.
That's the word I was looking for. Piping, plumbing, right? I mean, it's a freaking no-brainer, much. And this is a proven model also. Okay, we're not like, we creators. We're not something special in the sense that we're not the first ones to come. There have been people from before. Like, for example, what's that guy? Leonardo da Vinci, right? He had patrons. He literally had, I think, the king of Spain or king of, I don't know, some very rich noble other people, right? He had patrons, and this is the only example I can think of, like, from back then. But even more recently, right? There are creators all over the world. They have, Patreon, and people are making like massive amounts of money there, and the potential here for us to actually use a homegrown system, something that does, and you have access to Vikram, right? And not just Vikram, right? You have access to the entire team on the WhatsApp groups and whatnot. It's a no-brainer. So that leads me to the fork from 3.5. The next thing I'm launching is a D&D subscription as well, right? And I think, what? Why make money in one way when you can make money in multiple ways? So yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever you want to say. All right, I want to tackle Gautam's question, but before that, do you have anything to add, Vikram?
Yeah, so look, I just wanted to, let you have this freewheeling chat. And like I said, today's session is all about you, right? About how your journey has gone and what you have been doing all this while, how Gigsy has been helping you. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how you're going to do the Dungeons and Dragons thing, because sure, it's going to be a burgeoning market in India very, very soon, if not already. So
Yeah, it's growing there. It's growing
yeah,
fast.
yeah. So I think it's going to become something really cool, especially for people who are affected by lockdown. They have nothing better to do, and why not, go into some serious role playing stuff?
Yeah.
For all you care. So I know I got hooked onto it. Yeah. For the uninitiated, I'm part of Arvind's game. We play this game once in 2 weeks, and the
Yes.
next session is in 2 days from now on Sunday. Looking
Sunday.
forward to it. Yes,
Yes, sir.
but that's something that I believe there's a humongous market for, and it's something that Arvind is going to fork into very, very quickly.
And not just India, Macha, abroad also. And
Oh,
now that
absolutely.
like US payments are also coming in, I'm like, paisa aata hai.
Hey, man,
And I'm just doing
you
stuff that I love. All right. I'm
yeah,
like right after this, I'm going to be like making a map for like 3 hours. Okay. I'm going to be
yeah.
streaming it for free. But that's going to be eventually making me money. Right. So
Well,
I'm like,
in fact, what you can do is to already, when you set up a profile for D&D, again, you can set it up in US dollars directly.
yeah, that's kind of the plan.
Yeah. So now we have the ability for new creators who come on board to set up their profiles in US dollars so that they can get paid directly through US dollars.
I just want to highlight this, okay? This is a very important thing because, like, it's something that's so trivial, like compound interest, but doesn't hit you until like you really think about it. For people like us, okay, getting someone to spend $50, 50 rupees, is perhaps at the same level of effort as to get someone to spend, let's say, 99 cents or $1. Let's say $1. How much is $1? Does $70, $80?
70 to 75 rupees. Yeah.
Yeah. So that itself is like what an extra 30% extra money that you're making just by putting it in like freaking dollar. Like I'm like laughing. I'm like, why isn't this? Why are people doing this already? Sorry, but yeah, that's
No, I mean, it's a relevant point also, right? At some point, on Gigsy, we're going to soon start giving you the ability to actually start using a single profile and sell things using different currencies. So that's something that we're going to support very soon. The initiation for that went, through creations of new profiles through specific currencies.
right.
What we are very excited about, and I want to plug this in a little shamelessly at this
Sure.
point in time, is Bloom is going live
Yeah, when?
in a day. So
Awesome.
we're going to go live in a day, and I'm going to do something called Beta 4. And Beta 4 is going to be an interesting exercise because I want to use Beta 4 as a control group to actually understand how people are using Bloom. And the name Beta 4 is because we're going to be
Before.
giving Gigsy Bloom to 4 people.
Oh, okay.
4 people who could be existing creators on the platform or who need not also be existing creators on the platform. And this is going to be available on both iOS as well as Android. We are almost done with all of the plumbing and the testing and everything else. So Gigsy Bloom is going out live. Okay, happening very, very soon. Now that's something that I'm really looking forward to, and I believe the moment you start automating social media posts across multiple platforms, it then becomes the go-to place. So
Seriously.
yeah, so I think that's something that is going to happen very, very fast and very quickly. A big shout out to everyone who has come on to this chat and listen to us, listen to Arvind's journey as a creator, his journey as a dungeon master, his journey as a gamer, his journey as basically everything. Like, I think the only thing he's probably not done is to play cricket. Maybe he's done that also. I think. I don't know. Have you done that?
Just once in Kuwait.
So maybe that's probably the.
I did play basketball, so if that's any consolation. So
You played basketball professionally, didn't you? I mean, semi-professionally.
yeah, at college level.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm really proud of, I played paintball, and we represented India in the World Cup Asia in Langkawi, 2011, 12, I don't remember. I still have a photo of me with the Indian flag. I think it's somewhere in my shelf again. Yeah, man. We world ranking number 9.
Awesome. So lots of different things that he has done. So I think his varied experience is what he's actually putting in with respect to put the player first and all of the power of games in your life, right? And bringing all of that to life and making things better for you as a person. So if you really want some cool content, if you really want to support what Arvindh is doing, and he deserves all of the support, go to gigsy.in/the Indian DM and you can subscribe to him at different levels. Check out puttheplayerfirst.com. That's his website where you understand what he does. Get onto his emailing list. He's got a truckload of stories to say.
Yeah.
I think he sends out one email a day. You still do that, don't
Pretty
you?
much every single day.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
just want to highlight one thing, right? This concept of death and rebirth, right? It's a very, very important thing. Like all the different hobbies that we do, every time we encounter somebody, every time we have a new experience, this is a cycle that happens, right? And it's not something that has to happen to you, right? You as an individual. It's something that you can actively take and make it happen for yourself, right? So to help you do that, I actually have a light version of the framework that you can get at the website, puttheplayerfirst.com as well. If you could, Vikram, please do in the comments or whatnot, please add the other link that I had shared, the version 0.9 of the framework. It's there in our private chat as well. The idea is that if you just follow that, and if you just, just think about how, if you had to look at the goal that you have to achieve as a game to be played, as an adventure to go on, then you know that you're the hero in this, right? So you have a big bad evil boss that you have to defeat. You have different monsters that come up along the way. You have different challenges you have to overcome, and all of that is showing up in that particular URL as well, right? So that's a very, very important thing. And are we wrapping up right now? If so,
Oh,
then I
yeah,
have
yeah.
one more thing.
Yeah, yeah, please. Last, parting shots for everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
very, very important parting shots. As a creator, there are there are two things I want to share. First is a quote from Ira Glass, which I'm going to paraphrase, which says that when we decided to become creators, right, in the beginning, we have a sense of taste, something that we expect of ourselves, right, something that we think is really, really awesome. That's why we got into this hobby or this skill development in the first place, right? But when we start, we're not good enough, right? For that, we require practice. We need to get better and better and better, right? We all practice our arts and crafts that way, and that's an important thing. Only after we do that body of work will we be good enough to to satisfy ourselves and to create the stuff that we care about. That's how it works in art. Now, a slight shift from that is that's how business works as well. When you start, you know that this is the kind of lifestyle that you want to lead, this is the kind of money that you want to make, but in the beginning you don't know how to do that, and that's okay. What you do at that time is you practice. You learn from the resources that you have available. The Passion to Profit Bootcamp, the stuff that you have at Gigsy, which is going to simplify all the technical plumbing, as Vikram put it. All of that stuff is like all packaged and ready. So you can just focus on that one thing, doing your art, and of course, going ahead and looking at how can you become a better entrepreneur, because you can't just be one without the other, right? That's like you need both brains and soul. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. And the second thing is find me online, right? Send me links to the stuff that you do. I would be more than happy to take a look, and if I can help you guys in any which way whatsoever, reach out to me. That's it,
Absolutely.
Vikram.
Absolutely. I think it's been super fun to listen to Arvind's journey, and I found a lot of different things about Arvind. I've known him for a while now, but I heard a lot of firsts from Arvind about his gambling and blackjack stuff. Shit, I didn't know that. My God, they all
How do you think? How do you think? Yeah, no, that's off camera talk.
Yeah, so fantastic stuff. I think there is a lot to look forward to, just in terms of this games framework, and also in terms of looking at what he's going to be doing as part of Dungeons and Dragons as well. Now that's really cool. That's the gaming side of things for D&D aficionados, but particularly look up gigsy.in/the Indian DM. Look up puttheplayerfirst.com. As you can see here, he's got a lot of interesting stuff there on record for you. Stuff that you can subscribe to, stuff that you can view free. Everything happens beautifully, comes together wonderfully on this website. So
Yes, it does.
been a brilliant conversation, Arvind, and
Thanks for the opportunity, Maja.
what opportunity? My God, it's my honor.
Listen, this video is live, so we'll have to be here like this. So
My honor it is. My
honor it is.
honor.
My God, you guys should see the stuff we say.
We say a lot of stuff. We
do.
So that's super cool. Again, thanks everybody for coming on and checking us out and taking the time out to go through this webinar. I'm going to be coming back again next week with some interesting stuff. I'm going to either get a creator on board who will potentially be on a call like this, on a nice little video call, cozy video call like this, or I might end up talking about some interesting topics. So we'll figure out what we're going to be doing in a week from now. So thank you. Have a great weekend ahead. Start
Thank
your week
you.
on the right note. Thank you, Arvindh, for joining us. And
Thank you.
for everyone else who wants to access Arvindh, go to puttheplayerfirst.com. Go to gigsy.in/the Indian DM to support him. Enjoy. Have an awesome day. This is Vikram saying over and out, and Arvind also saying bye-bye in DM style.
Over and out.